Hi guys, welcome to lesson number 4 in this series, which is Quant revision for the SNAP exam. In today's session we're going to deal with this topic of time, speed and distance. This is one of those tricky topics. Easy questions bhi aate hain, tough questions bhi aate hain. The idea is कि हम identify करें what kind of problem type it is, and at least for 4 or 5 types you should know the exact approach to solve it. अगर उस टाइप का आया स्नैप में, क्योंकि पेस का दिस इज टेस्ट ऑफ पेस मोर देन एनीथिंग एल्स, सो यू वुड रादर नो कि ये 5 टाइप के रेगुलरली क्वेश्चंस आते हैं और इन्हीं पे हम अप्रोचेस सीख लें, राइट? सो दैट्स द ट्रिक, दैट्स व्हाट आई वांट टू डील, that's what I'm going to teach you today. Before we go ahead, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Anand Venkatesan. I'm an educator with Unacademy. I've done my engineering from VIT Vellore and then did my postgrad from IIM Bangalore. I have trained students for almost 10 years now for a variety of entrance exams. I've written CAT multiple times in the past. As late as 2018 is when I scored a 99 percentiler in the CAT. So I think along with a bunch of talented educators with Unacademy, I think we know what it takes, to crack not just the CAT but all other exams as well. Here's what I'm going to deal with today: basics of TSD, followed by major question types. We're going to deal with proportionality, talk about a question type called before and after there, and also apply it to race problems. Then we'll deal with relative speed, apply it on relative speed problems, but also deal with questions on trains, questions on boats, and escalator problems, right? So that's the quick sort of agenda for today's session. Before I go ahead, do join us on social media. We have a YouTube channel, that's CAT4MBA. We also have a Telegram channel by the same name. You can also directly follow my updates. That's Anand for Quant, which is my Telegram channel. But you could also, this is officially, the handle name is Unacademy_Anand Venkatesan. If you don't already know this, starting tomorrow we have an Unacademy Champions League. You just need to log in using your credentials into the app, and at 5 p.m. every alternate Sunday there's going to be this contest. You do well in the test, in the exam, and you stand to win you stand to win prizes and scholarships, right? So it's very exciting. You get to win and also analyze your performance at within the same time, on the same day. So that's something which is a new initiative that Unacademy has launched. There's also a new batch that we've just kickstarted this year, that's called the Perfect Score Batch with toppers for CAT 2021. You can see this is a batch that started on the 1st of January. To access these batches, all you need is a valid subscription. The 12-month, 24-month subscriptions are the most popular, the most effective ones. You can see that they're priced very, very reasonably. Don't forget my referral code AV01. At the time of subscription, using this code gives you a 10% discount on any of these subscription plans. Okay, let's get into the agenda then, right? So what do we learn today? The time, speed and distance, right? The quick basics. Distance equal to speed into time. That's the basic formula. I should also keep in mind that the units are interchangeable. Distance and time are fairly easy because distance is in kilometers or meters. So 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters, just like 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes, or 16 to 60, that's 3,600 seconds. So converting distance from kilometers to meters, or of time from hours to seconds, is very, very easy. This one is the tricky conversion, right? Kilometer per hour to meter per second. You can see unitary method use करेंगे यहाँ पे. अगर स्पीड दिया हुआ है किलोमीटर पर आवर में, यू मल्टीप्लाइड विद 5/18. अगर स्पीड दिया हुआ है मीटर पर सेकंड में, तो उल्टा कर देंगे, कन्वर्ट स्पीड फ्रॉम मीटर्स पर सेकंड टू किलोमीटर पर आवर बाय मल्टीप्लाइंग इट विद 18/5, राइट? याद रखना, जस्ट इन केस यू डू गेट कंफ्यूज, दैट if you convert speed from kilometer per hour to meter per second, it will reduce in value, so you want 5/18. But if you do the opposite, if you're converting it from meter per second to kilometer per hour, it will absolute value will increase, so multiply by 18/5. Thank you. So here's a sample question, and बड़ा simple सा problem है. Usain Bolt सब जानते हैं यार उसेन बोल्ट को. We know that he runs the 100-meter dash in 10 seconds. No, 9.59 seconds है. Check करो. Anyway, so we've approximated that as 10 seconds. 100 meters in 10 seconds मतलब speed तो निकल आएगी उसकी. You're given the distance, you're given the time. Right? The question asks you to compare his speed with that of a car traveling at 20 km per hour in percentage terms. How much percentage faster is he? Right? You can see in this problem when I first calculate speed, I know that's going to be distance upon time. So 100 meters upon 10 seconds means 10 meters per second, right? But if I need to compare it with the car, I either convert speed of the car into meter per second or convert the speed of the person, Usain Bolt, into kilometer per hour. So let's do that. If I'm converting his speed into kilometer per hour, I know value will increase. From meter per second, it should increase. So 18 by 5, right? So that becomes 36 kilometers per hour. Acha. So he runs at 36 kilometer per hour. The car travels at 20. So how much more? So required percentage is how much more? Well, 36 is 16 more than 20, right? And the base will always be compared to what? Compared to the car, right? Car speed is 20. So 16 upon 20 into 100 means 4445. So 4/5 of 100 is 80%. So Usain Bolt is 80% faster than this car, right? Okay. The other sort of aspect that you need to, be comfortable with as far as basics go, average speed. Very, very common sort of application, very, very common trick is that the formula for average speed obviously is total distance by total time. We've already studied averages. You should know average speed is the weighted average of speeds when speeds are weighted by time. You can see S1 T1 plus S2 T2. The formula looks exactly like that of weighted average, right? But now if I understand it's a weighted average, then I can also make two inferences. One, that weighted average and simple average, weighted average becomes equal to simple average if the weights are equal. So in this case, the weights are time. So the first sort of learning here is that when the time taken in multiple segments is equal, then average speed will be average of speed. So let's say speeds are S1, S2, S3, S4. In segments which are of equal time duration, then no problem, S1 plus S2 plus S3 divided by 3, or S1 plus S2 plus S3 plus S4 divided by 4. So basically simple average. That's if time of travel is equal. What if distance of travel is equal? Well, it's not then the simple average. It's not the arithmetic mean. It's in fact the harmonic mean. I hope you guys remember what a harmonic mean is, right? But if you don't, just remember this formula, because this is the formula that is very, very useful for two segments where distances are equal, right? So if the journey is in segment 1 and segment 2 of distance d each, right? Then if these two segments were traveled at a meters per second, or a and b speeds, then average speed will be 2ab upon a plus b. That's like the harmonic mean of their speeds a and b. है ना, ये इतना फॉर्मूला इसलिए याद करने का फायदा है बिकॉज दिस फॉर्मूला इज क्वाइट regularly used, right, most of the time, especially on the snap. You could directly get a question that says, here's multiple segments at equal time or multiple segments at equal distance, find the average speed, right? Should be able to quickly get that done, right? Okay, let's look at some problems testing our basics. Okay, what do I know? Starting at 10 a.m. Ram travels the speed of 40 till 2 p.m. So 10 बजे से 2 बजे तक, that's 4 hours. Okay, so he travels at 40 kilometers per hour for 4 hours, and then he changes his speed for the next 3. Okay, so 4 hours and then next 3 hours. We know speed here is 40 kilometers per hour, right? Which means he's traveling a distance of 40 into 4, 160 kilometers, right? But if Ram covers a total distance of 250, which means second segment distance will be 250 minus 160. That's clearly going to be 90 kilometers. Okay. So in 3 hours, the distance covered is 90 kilometers, which means the speed will be 90 upon 3, distance upon time, right? 30 kilometers per hour. Okay. How fast did he travel after 2 p.m.? There you go. That's what you know. It's going to be 30 kilometers per hour. Yeah, kind of question that if you get in the exam, make sure that you crack it, make sure that you get this right. Yeah, try this one. Rajan usually travels at 25 meters per second, 4 hours, takes 4 hours. Right? So if he wants to take 25% more time, how much should his speed decrease? What do you think? Live viewers, those watching live, please comment, just so I know what's happening. So you know that time taken is 4 hours. Let's say usual time taken is 4 hours. Today, you want to take 25% more time. You want, okay, what do I want? I want time taken to be 4 plus 25% is 1/4. 4 plus 1/4 of 4, that's 5 hours. Okay, so I want to take 5 hours, but I want to travel the same distance that Rajan usually does, right? So distance that Rajan usually travels. Speed को मैं किलोमीटर पर आवर में convert कर लेता हूँ क्योंकि time hours में दिया हुआ है. So I'll convert speed as 25 into meter per second, increase करेगा 18/5 से multiply करेंगे. That's 90 kilometers per hour, right? So distance should be 90 kilometer per hour into 4, right? Which means speed, new speed should be this distance divided by actual time that he wants to take. So 360/5 will be 72. So he should travel at 72 kilometers per hour, right? From 90 kilometers per hour, if he wants to travel at 72 kilometers per hour, it will decrease the speed by 18 kilometers per hour, or if this was in meters per second, that would be 18 into 5 by 18, that's 5 meters per second, right? So speed can either be this or this, that would be the change in the speed, whether in kilometer per hour or meter per second. Okay, how about another basic problem? Simple question है. Train flies with an average speed. अच्छा, average का question आ गया. Yeah, average speed that the airplane flies at is 756. Helicopter takes 48 hours to cover twice the distance covered by the. So first of all, distance covered by the aeroplane will be 756 into 9, and a helicopter takes. So for the helicopter, it covers double this distance in 48 hours, which means you say 756 into 9 into 2 will be the distance travelled, and if it travels this in 48 hours, divided by 48 will be speed of the helicopter. Right? Distance upon time. कितना आ रहा है ये? Right? I'm almost expecting this to cancel out. So 24. 24 into 3 is, okay, this won't cancel out. 12 into 2 is 24. 12 6s are 72. 36. 12 3s are 36. Right? So what do I get? Yeah, I get 63 into 9. 9 3s are 27. 2 9 6 are 54 plus 2 56. Right? 567 by 2 is the speed of the helicopter. Find the distance covered by the helicopter in 18 hours. Okay. So the distance actually we need is the speed of the helicopter into time 18 hours, which means into 9. Right? 9 7s are 63. 9 6 are 54 plus 6 60. 9 5s are 45 plus 6 51. So 5103 kilometers. That's option B. That's your answer. Yeah, I know this was a very easy question. Here's a slightly more tricky question. Average speed of a bus. You know, the question sort of splits it up into, I'm giving you two average speeds for the bus. One which is the average speed, which does not include the stoppages. But if I include the stoppages as well, average speed actually drops to 45, right? How much does it stop how many minutes does it stop every hour? Yeah, so again, like a tricky question, right? You can solve it in a general sense. You don't need to use any formula, right? You're saying if the bus travels, if it were to only travel for 1 hour, you know, then it should have covered 50 kilometers, right? But What actually happens is that it doesn't cover 50 kilometers. It actually covers only 45 kilometers in that same 1 hour, right? Which means what? That travels 5 kilometers less, right? Which means that this 5 kilometers that it did not travel, it was actually not moving for this much time. How much time? The time it would have taken to travel 5 kilometers is the time that it stops. Correct? So, how much time would it take to cover 5 kilometers? Time taken would be this distance 5 upon its actual speed, which is 50. Right? So, okay, it would have taken 1/10 of an hour. Right? Which means what? 60 upon 10, 6 minutes. So, in the 1 hour journey, it travels for 1/10 of that 1 hour. So instead of covering 50, it travels 50 kilometers less, right? So instead of 60 minutes, it travels only for 54 and stops for the last 6 minutes. Right? That's the way that the bus travels. Okay, this was interesting, but let's move on to the next question type, which is called proportionality. In proportionality, we basically will use the fact that distance, speed and time are related by both direct and inverse proportionality, right? Distance and speed, for example, are directly proportional. Distance and time are also directly proportional, but speed and time are inversely proportional to each other. So proportionality is something that we can use with time, speed and distance quite often, right? Remember, in a problem, how do you use proportionality? You must notice that of the 3 variables, distance, speed and time, you should notice that one of the variables will not change. In fact, proportionality can only come into play if you have one variable unchanged. So ये चीज आपको क्वेश्चन में स्पॉट करनी है, राइट? फाइंड द वेरिएबल विच डज नॉट चेंज, एक्सप्रेस द अदर वेरिएबल्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ दैट वेरिएबल इन बोथ सिचुएशंस, वन बिफोर द चेंज एंड वन आफ्टर द चेंज, राइट? एंड देन इक्वेट इट, राइट? एग्जांपल लेते हैं ना, सपोजिंग अजय करके एक लड़का है, he travels to work daily at a certain speed, right? What happens is one day he travels 20% faster, right? Faster means speed changes. Reaches 20 minutes earlier means time changes, right? So let's talk about the variables. No, speed. What happens to speed? If originally my speed was x, today Ajay's speed is x plus, in fact, 20% faster means it's 120% of x, right? Or 1.2x, right? What about time? Well, if usual time is t minutes, then today time taken is t minus 20 minutes, okay? And this is the time he takes to travel to office, right? Which means distance is the same. So d equal to d1 equal to d2 कर सकते हैं. तो d1 equal to d2 करेंगे तो आपको इक्वेशन क्या बनेगा? x into t. अच्छा, the only thing you need to be careful is that this is in minutes, right? So, right, you should be ideally converting it into hours, right? X into t by 60 will be 1.2x into t minus 20 upon 60, right? Now the thing is, if you convert at both ends, both sides, then it will get cancelled out, right? So that's the way I prefer to do it all the time. And x also gets cancelled out. So my equation is t is equal to 1.2t minus 1.2 into 20 is 24. So I'll end up getting t as 24 divided by 0.2, that's 120. So usually Ajay takes 120 minutes. That's 2 hours. Today he takes 20 minutes less, which means he takes an hour and 40 minutes. Right? So this is an exact, template problem for proportionality, or what I call before and after, right? Because all you need to know is that one variable doesn't change and you can use proportionality, right? Let's consider another example. Look at this one. Arun travels to work daily, right? The immediate hint, if he travels to work on a daily basis, then he's traveling the same distance to work. So if he increases his speed by 5 kilometers per hour, he would reach 10 minutes early. If, however, he decreases speed by 5, he would reach 15 minutes late, right? Now imagine this. There's a usual scenario. There's the scenario today. In fact, there are two hypothetical scenarios, H1 and H2, right? Because it says if he decreases his speed by 5, which means, think about it, speed, distance and speed, time and distance, correct? So usually what does he do? He travels at a speed of x, he takes a time of t, and he travels the distance of d. Yeah? Okay, what happens today? Harun increases his speed by 5. So speed will become x plus 5 kilometers per hour, and he would reach 10 minutes early, which means instead of t minutes, he'd take t minus 10 minutes, right? But he travels the same distance, right? And the second scenario, if however he decreases speed by 5, he'll travel at x minus 5 kilometers per hour and take t plus 15 minutes to travel the same distance of d, right? So what would my equation be? You know, you'd put d1, d2 and d3 are all equal, right? So you'll say x into t will be equal to x plus 5. In fact, xt by 60 karenge na? Would be x plus 5 into t minus 10 whole divided by 60, right? The 60 will get knocked off, right? xt and xt here, right? If I open this, I'll get xt plus xt minus 10x plus 5t minus 50. So xt और ये xt तो कट जाएगा, right? So you'll get one equation, dividing it by 5, you'll get, actually मत divide करो, you'll get 10x minus 5t, और उल्टा कर लेते हैं, 5t minus 10x is 50. Right? That's equation number 1. Similarly, you could also equate the other. X into t would also be equal to xt plus 15x minus 5t minus 75. Right? So again xt goes away, but this time my equation will be 15x minus 5t is equal to 75. Right? And so equations, the two equations that you're getting, if you add, you'll get 15x minus 10x, that's 5x, will be equal to 125. Which means x is 25. 25 kilometers per hour. I'm substituting that. 25 into 10 is 250. 250 plus 50 will become 300. I'll get t as 300 upon 5. That's 60 minutes, which means 1 hour. Right? So Arun usually travels at a speed of 25 kilometers per hour for an hour, which means the distance that he travels to work would be 25 kilometers per hour. That's option D. Yeah. So interesting application of proportionality. All you needed to do was equate distances in pairs and you'd get an answer, right? But it obviously is a problem which takes slightly more time. Again, good to identify that. Why does this take time in proportionality? Because the change in the speed was not given in percentage terms, it was given in absolute terms. So जहाँ change absolute terms में हो, तो 2 kilometers per hour faster, 5 kilometers per hour slower, तो absolute changes की जब बात करेंगे तो it's better to work with, you know, you should know that it will take time, right? Okay, moving on. Proportionality. Pragun takes an hour more than Shagun, right? Or continue कर रहे हैं. Pragun takes 1 hour more than Shagun to cover a distance of 240. अच्छा, same distance run करते हैं दो, maybe two girls. If however, अच्छा, two boys, not two girls. If he were to take an, double his speed, he would take an hour less than Shagun. Yeah, I wonder if you guys are able to wrap your head around this, but without wasting much time, I'm going to show you. Pragun takes 1 hour more. Let's say Shagun takes t hours, Pragun would take t plus 1. Let's say Shagun takes t hours, Pragun would take t plus 1 hours. Okay. If however he were to double his speed. Now this is an interesting thing, right? He doubles his speed, he would take 1 hour less. Right? He take an hour less than Shagun. सोचो Pragun के लिए speed versus time, right? Usually Pragun travels at a speed which is p, let's say, and he takes time which is t plus 1, right? Today what happens, he doubles his speed, which means he travels at 2p, right? And the time taken is 1 hour less than Shagun, right? T minus 1. But think about it. What about distance here? Isn't Pragun traveling the same distance? So d1 and d2 will be equal, right? So if d1 is equal to d2, then you'll say distance is speed into time. So Pragun's speed p into t plus 1 will be double Pragun's speed into t minus 1. तो ये p और p कट जाएगा. In fact, equation बन जाएगा ना, t plus 1 is equal to 2t minus 2. मतलब t आ जाएगा 3 hours. मतलब शगुन को लग रहे हैं 3 hours. क्वेश्चन क्या बोल रहा है? फाइंड शगुन स्पीड. शगुन को लग रहे हैं 3 hours. तो शगुन का स्पीड क्या हुआ? 240 by 3. 80 kilometers per hour. Option D. Yeah? I certainly hope you guys are following me. Give me a shout in the chat if you guys can hear me. अगर ये क्वेश्चन समझ में आ रहा है, just acknowledge. Let me know in the chat. ओके, सो नेक्स्ट अप, प्रोपोर्शनैलिटी के अलावा हम लोग रेसेस के भी क्वेश्चन पढ़ते हैं. रेसेस में क्या होते हैं? व्हाट इज अ रेस? ऑल एथलीट्स इन अ रेस, राइट? रिमेंबर, we generally tend to think or imagine races as, travel where distances are equal, right? Everybody runs a 100-meter dash, right? No. Well, everybody does and indeed target the 100 meters, right? But most of the time when you get questions from this, the problem will talk about margin of victory. है ना, कि A ने B को 10 मीटर से हराया, तो इसको ट्रांसलेट करना है, राइट? सो व्हेन यू से दैट इफ A beats B by 10 meters, then it means that the winner has finished the race, but all the other athletes have run for the same amount of time that A ran. तभी मार्जिन आएगा ना. All of them start running at the shot of the gunshot, sound of the gunshot, and then when one guy finishes, the other guy would have run, other people in the race would have also run for the same amount of time. तो टाइम इक्वल होता है. रेस में इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, जहां पे मार्जिन दिया हुआ है वहां पे आपको पता है टाइम सेम होता है, राइट? एंड सो margin of victory, wherever it's given, it's a gap between the runners when one of them finishes. For example, if it's a 100-meter race and I say A beats B by 10 meters, A beats C by 15 meters, तो इसको समझेंगे कैसे? Imagine करो कि 3 runners हैं, they start running from exactly the same point, after the gunshot, and their finish line is 100 meters away, ठीक है? और अब इसमें रेस जब खत्म होता है तो मुझे क्या पता है? A beats B by 100 meters, मतलब when the race finishes, A is at the, after some time t, A is at the finish line, right? A has finished the race. Whereas B though, since A beats B by 10 meters, B is going to be behind him by 10 meters, right? Which means if he's 10 meters behind A and A has finished the race, which means A has run 100, which means B would have run 90. Correct? Similarly, if A beats C by 15, C is 15 meters behind A, which means C has run 85. है ना? तो इसका ये मतलब है कि in the same time t, all 3 runners have run 190 and 85 meters, which means I can now say distance equal to speed into time. I can say 100 is equal to A into t, 90 is equal to B into t, and 85 is equal to C into t. तो इसका जो है, इसको अगर मैं रेशियो टर्म्स में ले लूं तो A is to B is to C आ जाएगा as 100 is to 90 is to 85. So this is something that you'll use all the time, right? In a race, runners have run. When the question gives you margin of victory, कि यार लोग इक्वल टाइम के लिए दौड़े हैं, मतलब जिस रेशियो में उनका स्पीड है उसी रेशियो में उनके डिस्टेंसेस होंगे. So if you are given margins, then you will get ratio of speeds, and from ratio of speeds you will be able to derive ratio of ratio of distance दिया होगा, उससे आप derive कर सकते हो ratio of speeds. Consider this problem, right? आप लोग try कीजिए, see if you can solve this. That's the second. Yes, guys, did you manage to get this one? देखिए, A beats B by 10 meters in a 150 meter race, right? So A और B के बीच में रेस है, A जीता है, which means ratio of speeds A by B will be ratio of distances. A runs what distance? Since A is beating B, A ने पूरा रेस रन किया होगा 150 meters, और B 10 मीटर से हारा है, मतलब B 140 रन किया होगा, right? So A by B is 150 by 140. दूसरा रेस है A beats C in a 400 meter race. तो हर रेस के लिए ऐसा एक इक्वेशन बनाएंगे. So here you will say A by C. Okay. A जीता है again, which means A would run 400, but C is beaten by 25 meters. C would have run 375. Right? I can simplify. Right? This becomes 15 by 14. This become 25 ones are 25. 15 बचेगा 150. 25 into 6. This one will be 25 into 15. Okay. If B and C, अच्छा अब B and C की बारी जब तक आएगी तब तक आप यहाँ सोचो, A by B मुझे पता है 15 by 14 है और A by C मुझे पता है 16 by 15 है, तो मैं इन दोनों को कंबाइन कर सकता हूँ क्या कुछ करके? Can I combine these two equations? Yes. What is common to the two equations? A, मतलब यहाँ से क्या मिलेगा? A will be 15B by 14. Sorry about that. Right? A will be 15B upon 14, but A is also 16C upon 15. Right? So if you want the ratio of B and C, because you want to see who will win between B and C, तो बी और सी में से जो तेज होगा वही जीतेगा ना, तो बी अपॉन सी रेशियो कैलकुलेट कर लेते हैं स्पीड्स का। तो 14 इंटू 6 84, 8 14 1 14 प्लस 8 22 224 and this is 15 square. I know that's 225. So denominator is bigger, which means C is smarter, sorry, C is faster, and if C is faster, C is gonna race, C is gonna win. But which only rules out options B and option D. बट अभी भी ए सी और ई तीन ऑप्शन है मेरे पास, तो मार्जिन ऑफ विक्ट्री फिर भी मुझे कैलकुलेट करना होगा, ठीक है। अब आते हैं बी और सी में से कौन जीता है, सी जीता है 225 मीटर रेस। सो अगेन हर रेस के लिए वही लगाते हैं ना, रेशियो ऑफ स्पीड्स विल बी इक्वल टू रेशियो ऑफ डिस्टेंसेस। अब सोचो बी और सी में से पूरा रेस कौन रन करेगा, अगर सी फास्टर है तो सी विल रन द एंटायर रेस ऑफ 225, व्हिच मींस बी विल रन लेस, सो लेट्स से बी रन्स x meters, right? But you already know ratio of speeds, na? You know ratio of speeds is 224 by 225, right? So this ratio of speeds will be ratio of distances x meters upon 225 meters. और आप देखोगे वैल्यूज ऐसे दिए हैं कि x डायरेक्टली 224 मीटर्स आ जाएगा, मतलब जितनी देर में C ने रेस फिनिश किया है B ने 224 मीटर्स रन किया है, मतलब वो 1 मीटर पीछे था, so C wins by 1 meter. Yeah, that's option E. I certainly hope that you guys understand this, right? एक और ट्राई करें, देखो A, याद रखना ट्रिक क्या है, रेशियो ऑफ स्पीड्स और रेशियो ऑफ डिस्टेंसेस इक्वेट कर दो बस, दैट विल ऑलवेज गिव यू अ वेरी क्विक आंसर। यहाँ पे फिर से अप्लाई करके देखते हैं। A and B run a race of, A can give B a start of 20 meters in a 500 meter race। इसका मतलब क्या है कि A B को 20 मीटर आगे भी खड़ा करके दौड़ाएगा ना, then also A will win, right? It means A will just about win, he won't lose, right? Which means that A runs how much distance? A runs, since A is giving B a start, B runs less, B runs 20 meters less, B runs 480, but A will run 500, and this will happen in the same time. Similarly, A can give C a start of 10 meters in a 200 meter race, which means A runs 200, C runs 10 meters less, 190, right? So 20 by 19, this is 50 by 48 or 25 by 24, right? So equating the two, you will get 25B by 24 will be equal to 20C by 19, है ना? तो 5 into 4, 5, sorry, यहाँ पे करते हैं ना, 5 4s are 20, 5 5s are 25. So I'll end up getting B by C as 24 into 4 96 divided by 19 into 5 95, है ना? और यहाँ पे वैल्यूज देखो बड़े अच्छे से दिए हुए हैं। B और C में तेज कौन है, B तेज है ना? So clearly B is faster, clearly B wins, right? Which means he will run the entire race. He should run, this is ratio of speeds, this should be ratio of distances. He runs the entire race 960, B runs x meters. So what will x be? X will be 950 meters, which means C runs 950 meters. So B wins by how much? B wins by 10 meters. That's option D. Yeah? Okay, तो ये तो हुआ रेस का क्वेश्चन, है ना? और 3 टाइप के क्वेश्चन है, फटाफट कर लेते हैं। रिलेटिव स्पीड इज वन ऑफ दोस कॉन्सेप्ट्स व्हिच इज यूज्ड whenever you find that in a problem you find that 2 or more objects are moving, right, and they're moving simultaneously, तो आप उन दोनों के मोशन को स्टडी डायरेक्टली नहीं कर पाओगे, so it's better off to use relative speed. What is relative speed? Speed of object which is moving with respect to a moving observer, है ना? Like in a nutshell, if you want to get an understanding of relative speed, then imagine this: if you're sitting in a car and you're going next to a train, right? If your car is standing still, the train will look like it's traveling quite fast. But if you're also going in the same direction as the train and you glance out, the train will almost seem like it's going along with you. So it won't seem like it's going fast. This is the concept of relative speed, right? Ki if you start moving, then your conception of the other object will change because your reference is now moving, right? So speed of object with respect to an observer is called relative speed. There are 2 rules to calculate determine the relative speed. If both objects are moving in the same direction, then relative speed should be their difference. Yeah. But if 2 objects are moving in opposite direction, then relative speed will be the sum of their speeds, individual speeds. ठीक है? और इसको यूज कैसे करते हैं कि जब भी 2 ऑब्जेक्ट्स मूव कर रहे हो, right, what you do, is you make one object stationary, right? So you'll probably say B doesn't move, right? Which means A will move at what speed? Relative speed. So A will move at same direction, relative speed is, you'll say relative speed here will be A minus B. So instead of both A and B moving in the same direction at different speeds, you'll say, let's consider that B is actually not moving. A runs at a speed which is relative speed, slower than his actual speed, A minus B, right? And then you can analyze the problem, right? So technically speaking, what will we do? We'll assume one object as the observer, make that object stationary, attribute relative speed to the other object, calculate basis the rules, and then analyze, and then use it in the situation, because you're using distance equal to speed into time, only that the object is not moving at its own speed, it moves at relative speed, right? But distance equal to speed into time will still apply, right? So for example, two trains leave from Delhi and Jaipur at 9 a.m. and 1 a.m. at speeds of 45 and 25, right? So, okay, you have Delhi, you have Jaipur, right? The train from Delhi leaves at 9 o'clock at a speed of 45 kilometers per hour. The train from Jaipur leaves at 1 o'clock and travels at a speed of 25 kilometers per hour. Yeah. So if the distance between Delhi and Jaipur is 390, how far from Jaipur will they meet? Right? Now the trick to remember is that till 1 p.m. the second train from Jaipur is not moving, right? So don't need to use relative speed at all. So what I will do is let's consider 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. as a separate segment, right? Which is like a segment of 4 hours, right? In these 4 hours, the train will travel at a speed of 45 kilometers per hour, which means what distance will it cover? 45 into 4, that's 180 kilometers. Okay, so the train has already covered 180 kilometers, right? And the distance between Delhi and Jaipur is 390, which means the remaining distance will be 390 minus 180, that's 210. Okay. Right. And now you know the distance between them. At this point, the train from here is moving at relative speed. So it's moving at, right? In this case, object and observer are moving in opposite directions, right? So you will make B stationary, but A speed will now become relative speed, right? So in the second scenario, you will say relative speed should be 45 plus 25 because they are moving in opposite directions. That's 70 kilometers per hour. And at this speed, how far apart are they? They are 210 kilometers apart. Distance is 210, right? So if you equate distance equal to relative speed into time, 70 into time will give me time as 3 hours. Okay, so what this tells me is that it would take the train 3 hours for the trains to meet. Okay, but the question doesn't ask me when they meet. The question says, sure, they meet probably at 4 p.m. But how far from Jaipur are they? Right? So in those 3 hours, distance travelled by the second train will be the actual distance from Jaipur. So what is the distance travelled by the second train? The train speed of 25 times 3 is 75 kilometers. Right? You indeed should be proud of this. Okay, see if you can make sense of this question. It's just similar. Not sure if you guys have tried or not. Let me show you the solution. Atul can run from his home to Ranjan's home. Atul and Ranjan live some distance apart. Atul takes 1 hour to reach Ranjan's house. Ranjan in fact takes 1.5 hours. Right? Okay, suspicious. I'm only given the time taker. I'm not given distance. Right? Neither am I given speeds. Right? So let's assume the speed. So now whatever speed you assume, or you can assume the distance actually. Right? Let's assume the distance to be 3 kilometers. Why 3 kilometers? Because you want it to be divisible by 1 as well as by 1.5. And a distance को हम time से divide करते हैं. तो distance को मैं 3 और 1 और 1.5 से divisible assume किया 3 आ जाएगा. right? So just let the distance be 3 kilometers. And what is Atul's speed? 3 kilometers in 1 hour. So Atul's speed will be 3 kilometers per hour. And Rajan's speed from the opposite end, Rajan moves at covers 1.5 kilometers. Takes 1.5 hours to cover 3 kilometers, which means Rajan's speed will be distance 3 upon 1.5. So that becomes 2 kilometers per hour. Yeah, okay. Now, Atul and Ranjan leave their homes at 10 o'clock and 10:30, right? So, okay, so you know this train leaves at 10 a.m., this train leaves at 10:30, right? Now, the fact that there is a half an hour gap between their starting points means you should account for it. You should say first half hour, 10 to 10:30. What will happen? Only Atul moves. So distance done by Atul will be his speed, which is 6 by 3, which will be 2 kilometers per hour, into time taken. That's half an hour. Okay, wait. Atul runs at a speed of 3 kilometers and he does so only for half an hour, right? So 1.5 kilometers gone, which means the gap left is assumed to be distance of 3 kilometers. So gap left will be 1.5 kilometers. That's it. Okay. Sorry, the distance left will also be 1.5 kilometers. Now, the remaining distance, 1.5 kilometers, will be covered by both persons moving, right? This guy has reached here, somewhere here, right? So he's also moving towards Adyar, and from Adyar, I'm also heading towards Madhya Kailash, right? So where do we meet? So, So we'll use, since both objects are moving now, 10:30 onwards. Both objects move. So we'll say, let's use relative speed. Relative speed, both objects move in opposite directions. So relative speed will be 3 plus 2. That's 5 kilometers per hour. And at this speed, the train needs to cover 1.5 kilometers. So distance is equal to 1.5 kilometers should be relative speed into time. So what will I get for time? 150 upon 5, that's 30 minutes. Right, at what time will they meet? Okay, sorry, this is not 30 minutes, this is going to be t is equal to 0.3, right? 1.5 upon 5, right? That's 0.3 hours, which means that's going to be 0.3 into 60, 18 minutes. Yeah, or another one like of similar nature. Buses go from A to B every 15 minutes, right? Every 15 minutes interval, there are buses which go from a point A to a point B. Right? And a man who's cycling from B to A meets these buses at intervals. Now imagine if the man wasn't moving, if the man was sitting in a stationary cycle, what would happen? You'd get the first bus, it would cross him. But every 15 minutes means second bus. By the time the first bus has travelled a distance of its speed, which is 36 kilometers per hour, into this time, which is time upon minute, 15 upon 60. It's like 1/4 of a minute, right? So yeah, and what is this? What is this distance of 9 kilometers? Right? This is the gap between the first and the second bus, right? Because the second bus will start moving only after 15 minutes, which means the first one would have already covered a distance of 9 kilometers, which means the gap between any two successive buses would be 9 kilometers. right? Okay, now let's talk about the cycle. There is a cyclist who's coming in the opposite direction. Right? This is the cyclist. Let's say cyclist speed is s kilometers per hour. Right? There's a big bullet. Yeah, and this cyclist meets the buses at intervals of 12 minutes, which means once he meets the first bus, right, the second bus he'll meet after 12 minutes, right? Now if he's already met the first bus, the distance from him to the second bus would be the same distance as gap between buses, no? So distance between them, between between where it is currently situated to where it will be, right? The gap is 9 kilometers, right? And this distance is covered by A in intervals of 12 minutes, right? Which means that having covered it, the distance is 9. Right? So you can say distance 9 will be equal to relative speed. In this case, relative speed क्या होगा? Both the bus and the cyclist are moving in opposite directions. तो बस का स्पीड मुझे क्या पता है? 36 किलोमीटर्स पर आवर. मैन का स्पीड पता नहीं, x ले लेते हैं. This into 9, 36 plus x. Distance equal to speed into time. Time कितना दिया हुआ है? 12 minutes. कितना आ रहा है? 1/5 of this, right? So 9 5s are 45 minus 36. I'll get x as 9 kilometers per hour, right? Options में है? नहीं है. 9 meters per second. तो इसको किलोमीटर पर आवर में कन्वर्ट करना, मीटर पर सेकंड में कन्वर्ट करेंगे into 5/18. That's 2.5 meters per second. That's there in the option. That's option B. So there you go. Mark that and be done with this problem. ठीक है, ये था relative speed. अब relative speed दो टाइप के क्वेश्चंस में बहुत कॉमनली यूज होता है. इनफैक्ट ज़्यादातर ट्रेन्स के क्वेश्चंस में यूज होता है. व्हाट्स a train? Well, a train and crossing questions is a specific application of relative speed. Consider an example. Like train is 100 meter long. It approaches a 150 meter long platform at a speed of 72 kilometers per hour. How long will it take to cross the platform? Now imagine this. There's a yellow colored platform. There's a 100 meter long train which is approaching this platform. And I am standing on this train. I want to find out how long the train takes to cross this platform, right? Now, will you start your stopwatch here at this instance? Obviously not. What will you do? You will wait for the train to come closer, no? So I wait, and eventually at some point it is just about to enter. At this instant, I'm gonna start the timer, right? जो मेरे पास stopwatch है उसका timer मैं यहाँ पे start करता हूँ, right? अगर मैं यहाँ पे start करूँ, अगर मैं यहाँ पे स्टार्ट करूँ और ट्रेन के स्पीड को मैंने किलोमीटर पर सेकंड में ऐसे ही कन्वर्ट कर लिया, 72 becomes 20, right? So this instance is called the instant of just before crossing, and after some time the train would have completed the crossing, which means the last bogie of the train is going to exit the platform. So this is what it will look like, right? Now this diagram is very useful because what it tells you कि ट्रेन ने कितना डिस्टेंस कवर किया है. इमेजिन करो इंजन को, right? इंजन यहाँ था, our engine has reached this point, right? So what distance has the engine covered in this time? It's first covered the length of the platform and then it's covered its own length, right? So it turns out that the distance traveled by the train, in the time it takes to cross, will be its own length plus the other object's length. So this is the rule that I can always use whenever I deal with a problem on trains and crossings. I will say that the distance to cross or the crossing distance will always be the sum of लेंथ्स. ट्रेन का लेंथ और प्लेटफॉर्म का लेंथ ऐड करो, ऐसे ही क्वेश्चन सॉल्व होगा, है ना? जैसे यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन लो, 300 मीटर लॉन्ग ट्रेन रनिंग एट अ स्पीड ऑफ 25 मीटर पर सेकंड, हाउ लॉन्ग विल इट टेक टू क्रॉस अ ब्रिज? तो मैं डायरेक्टली कहूंगा ट्रेन के लेंथ को और ब्रिज के लेंथ को ऐड कर दो, तो डिस्टेंस यहाँ पे क्या आएगा? डिस्टेंस टू क्रॉस विल बी 500, राइट? दिस शुड बी स्पीड इनटू टाइम, राइट? स्पीड 25 मीटर पर सेकंड दिया हुआ है तो टाइम आ जाएगा 500/25, 20 seconds. That's option C. Right? No brainer. It's a very simple problem, right? About something slightly more complicated, right? Two persons are running at speeds of 6 and 9, है ना? दोनों के अलग अलग स्पीड्स हैं, 6 किलोमीटर पर आवर, 9 किलोमीटर पर आवर. एक प्लेटफॉर्म पे दौड़ रहे हैं. A train approaches them from behind. अच्छा, एक आदमी ऐसे दौड़ रहा है, दोनों प्लेटफॉर्म पे दौड़ रहे हैं. राइट. एक ट्रेन है जो पीछे से अप्रोच कर रही है उनको, and it crosses them in 9 seconds and 10 seconds, right? The first guy it will cross in 9 seconds, second guy it will cross in 10 seconds. What is the train speed? Now remember, there are two crossings, crossing 1 and crossing 2, है ना. तो हर क्रॉसिंग में ये डिस्टेंस टू क्रॉस यूज करेंगे, राइट. अब याद यहाँ पे दो तीन चीजें फंडे यूज होंगे यहाँ पे. वन, इफ द ट्रेन इज क्रॉसिंग अ मैन, रिमेंबर इट्स अ पर्सन, राइट. सो ट्रेन का लेंथ प्लस पर्सन का लेंथ होगा ना डिस्टेंस, बट पर्सन डजंट हैव अ लेंथ, नो. You really count a man in terms of his width? No. So people don't have length. So distance to cross will be the train's length only. Let's say L is the length of the train. You will say L will be equal to. But the problem indeed is that the train also moves and the man also moves. Right? So speed किसका लें? तो speed obviously relative speed लेंगे. Let's say the train speed is S. Then in the first instance I'll say S minus 6 will be the speed of the relative speed. Right? Same direction. इंटू टाइम. अब स्पीड मैंने किलोमीटर पर आवर में कन्वर्ट किया, टाइम सेकंड्स में है, तो मुझे स्पीड को मीटर पर सेकंड में कन्वर्ट कर लेना चाहिए. इंटू 5/18 इंटू 9, राइट. एंड द सेम डिस्टेंस टू क्रॉस L, लेंथ ऑफ द ट्रेन, विल बी S minus 9 किलोमीटर पर आवर इंटू 5/18 कन्वर्ट्स दिस इंटू मीटर पर सेकंड इंटू टाइम टेकन विच इज 10 सेकंड्स. तो लेंथ तो सेम है, तो इक्वेट कर दो. S minus 6 इंटू 5/18 into 9 will be equal to S minus 9 into 5/18 into 10. तो it turns out कि ये 5/18 तो कट जाना है ना. तो इक्वेशन क्या बन रहा है? 9S minus 54 will be equal to 10S minus 90. तो ये 90 minus 54 तो हो गया 36, will be 10S minus 9S. So there you go. The speed of the train is 36 kilometers per hour. Is that there in the options? Yes, that's option A. है ना. या टू ट्रेन्स रनिंग इन ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शंस क्रॉस अ मैन. एंड सोचो क्या हो रहा है. एक प्लेटफॉर्म है, एक आदमी यहाँ खड़ा है. देयर इज टू ट्रेन्स व्हिच मूव इन ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन, व्हिच मीन दे आर अप्रोचिंग ईच अदर. दे क्रॉस दिस मैन इन 27 seconds and 17 seconds. So you'll assume, let's say this train's length is L1, this train's length is L2. This train travels the speed of A meter per second. And this train travels at the speed of B meters per second, right? Now clearly the man is stationary. So crossing one, this train crosses the man in time 27 seconds, right? So you'll say distance will be L1, should be relative speed 9. आदमी तो stationary है, so distance should be speed into time 27. Crossing 2 में distance now will be L2, will be speed B into time 17 seconds. And in crossing 3, what happens? What crosses what? They cross each other. So distance will be L1 plus L2. And relative speed use karenge because both trains are moving towards each other. So relative speed will be A plus B. And it takes them 23 seconds. Right? So L1 और L2 को यहाँ substitute कर लेते हैं equation 1 और equation 2 से. Right? So you'll end up getting 27A plus 17B will be equal to 23A plus 23B. Yeah, that's like saying 4A is equal to 6B, which means A is to B is 3:2. Right? Isn't that what the question asks? What is the ratio of their speeds? A is to B is 3:2, option C. Right? So this is one application of relative speed, trains and crossings. The other application is in boats. है ना. बोट में क्या होता है? एक बोट है, मूविंग स्ट्रीम पे मूव करता है. इट ट्रेवल्स ऑन अ मूविंग स्ट्रीम, मूविंग करंट. And so depending on which direction it moves, the train's effective speed will change, right? How so? Well, if the train is moving down the stream मतलब water के साथ में, in the same direction as the current, clearly it will go faster. So we'll say effective speed when going down is boat speed B plus water speed S. Similarly, if it goes up the stream, it's going against the current, है ना. और मतलब current के against जा रहे हो तो slow जाओगे. So if you are going slower, then relative speed, effective speed will be B minus S, है ना. इसको relative speed के साथ confuse मत करना. जब upstream जा रहे हैं तो हम against the current जा रहे हैं, मतलब water and boat are going in opposite direction, but speeds फिर भी subtract होती हैं. और when going downstream, you are going in the same direction as water, but speeds won't get subtracted; they'll in fact get added. right? So slightly it's different from relative speed. So don't let that confuse you. And remember, once you've calculated effective speed up and down the current, आपको डायरेक्टली डिस्टेंस इक्वल टू स्पीड इनटू टाइम लगाना है. अलग से लगाओ अपस्ट्रीम, अलग से लगाओ डाउनस्ट्रीम. that's what you need to keep in mind. Take an example. है ना, बोट का स्पीड दिया हुआ है इन स्टिल वाटर एज 20 किलोमीटर्स पर आवर. एंड देन इट दिस इज द स्पीड ऑफ द बोट, बी दिया हुआ है एज 20 किलोमीटर्स पर आवर, राइट. और क्या दिया हुआ है, इट कैन ट्रैवल 16 अपस्ट्रीम मुझे बताया है, इट कैन ट्रैवल अ डिस्टेंस ऑफ 16 kilometers in, this is distance up the stream and time taken to go up the stream is 1 hour. तो इक्वेशन तो डायरेक्टली बनाते हैं ना, डिस्टेंस अप द स्ट्रीम 16 शुड बी स्पीड गोइंग अप द स्ट्रीम. स्पीड गोइंग अप द स्ट्रीम विल ऑलवेज बी b minus s. स्पीड कम होती है यहाँ पे, राइट. सो 16 विल बी इक्वल टू 20 minus s into 1 hour. तो मतलब इसको सॉल्व करके s निकल आएगा. s कितना आएगा, 20 minus 16, that's 4 kilometers per hour. चलो, right. This tells me water's traveling at 4 kilometers per hour. What do I want? How long will it take? What time would it take to travel the same distance down the stream? तो downstream चलते हैं. Downstream के बारे में क्या पता है मुझे? Effective speed क्या है? Speed when going down, b plus s, faster. So 20 plus 4 is 24. So 24 kilometers per hour. Okay. And same distance means distance traveling down. Distance will be the same. So it's going to travel the same distance. 16 kilometers, right? So time taken will be distance upon speed. 16 upon 24 is 8 2s are 16, 8 3s are 24, 2/3 of an hour. So 2 by 3 into 16 minutes, that's 40 minutes. So what took this boat 1 hour going slower, it will take it only 40 minutes because it's going slightly faster now, है ना. ये हुआ बोट्स एंड स्ट्रीम्स का क्वेश्चन, राइट. एक एग्जांपल और ले लेते हैं and then we'll bring this session to a close. A man can travel at a speed of 8 kilometers per hour. बोट का स्पीड दिया हुआ है, b is 8, right. River has a current, मतलब speed of the stream is 2 kilometers per hour, and the man takes 3 hours more going up the stream than same distance down the stream. Basically time to go up is 3 more than time to go down the stream, है ना. और up the stream और down the stream same distance है ना. So d will be equal to, अब देखो down the stream up the stream जाते वक्त स्पीड होगा 8 minus 2 6 into time to go up the stream, but the same distance will be relative effective speed when going down the stream will be 8 plus 2 10, and time taken to go down the stream will be, तो यही आएगा. तो इसमें से निकालना क्या है, टोटल डिस्टेंस निकालना है, डी निकालना है. तो लेट्स सब्स्टिट्यूट एनी वन ऑफ देम. अपस्ट्रीम को डाल देते हैं. 6 into 3 प्लस टाइम टू गो डाउन इज इक्वल टू 10 टाइम्स टाइम टू गो डाउन. सो 6 into 3 18, और ये 6 into टाइम डाउन 10 में से 6 घटाएंगे तो बचेगा कितना, 4. 4 times time to go down is 18, which means time to go down will be 9 by 2 hours, right. So 4.5 hours. Find the total distance road d, right. जाते वक्त डिस्टेंस कितना कवर करेंगे, 10 into 9 by 2, right. 90 by 2 45 kilometers, right. So this is 45 kilometers one way. So total distance traveled will be 45 plus 45 90 kilometers, right. So the boat travels a total distance of 90 kilometers, right, and it does this, right. एक आखिरी क्वेश्चन है एस्केलेटर का, which can be quite tricky, right. Escalator goes from ground floor to first floor. 2 people go on the moving escalator. A climbs 50 seconds to reach the first floor. B takes 75 steps, right. But ये important information है. B takes 30 steps in the same time as A takes 1 step. 30. B takes 3 steps in the time taken by A to take 1 steps. So in, let's say, same time, let's say t seconds, right, let's say. So in t seconds, what you know is B takes 3 steps, whereas A only takes 1 step. Which means B का स्पीड हो गया अच्छा ये टाइम नहीं दिया हुआ ना, तो t सेकेंड्स में b takes 3 steps, a takes 1 step. ठीक है. अच्छा अब a climbs 50 steps to reach the first floor. अब यहाँ पे ऐसे सोचो, ठीक है, to reach the, and this escalator is going from down to up, right? So if a is going up and a climbs, instead of standing on the escalator, a climbs, right? तो escalator भी कुछ steps add करेगा और a भी कुछ distance travel करेगा, right? So 50 steps travel करने के लिए कितना time लगेगा, right? एक step travel करने में t seconds लग रहे हैं, तो 50 steps travel करने में it will take in 50 t seconds, right? But you know that in 50 t seconds a will travel 50 steps, right? In the same time b would have traveled 150 steps, and the escalator actually adds same amount of steps. So escalator adds, let's say, n steps, है ना? तो सेम टाइम लगा है. t सेकंड्स में अगर a ने 1 स्टेप लिया है तो a को 50 स्टेप्स लेने में मान लो 50 t सेकंड्स लग रहे हैं. तो उतनी देर में a will cover 50 steps, b will cover 50 times 3 steps 150, and escalator will add n, right? Now what you do know is that the distance is the same. ठीक है. अच्छा एक चीज नोटिस करो कि 50 t सेकंड्स में a तो 50 स्टेप्स ले रहा है और एस्केलेटर n स्टेप्स ऐड कर रहा है. सो अभी के लिए तो b भूल जाते हैं, which will say that total distance traveled should be 50 plus n, है ना? 50 स्टेप्स a ने लिए, एस्केलेटर ने n स्टेप्स ऐड किए, ऊपर पहुंच गया, मतलब इन दोनों को ऐड करेंगे तो टोटल नंबर ऑफ स्टेप्स आ जाएंगे, है ना, ग्राउंड फ्लोर से फर्स्ट फ्लोर तक. बट एक बात बताओ, 50 t seconds में you know that b will take 3 times as many steps as a, right? So if b takes 75 steps to reach the top, right? So b takes 75 steps. In the same time a would take 25 steps. जितनी देर में b 3 स्टेप ले रहा है, a 1 स्टेप ले रहा है, तो b जितनी देर में 75 स्टेप लेगा, a उसमें 25 स्टेप लेगा. बट a 50 स्टेप लेता है 50 t seconds में, 25 स्टेप लेगा in 25 t seconds, right? But you don't care about time actually, you care about escalator, right? If a takes 25 steps, right? आपको क्या पता, जब a 50 steps लेता है तो escalator n steps ऐड करता है, तो a 25 steps लेगा तो आधे टाइम में लेगा, मतलब escalator भी आधा टाइम, आधे नंबर ऑफ स्टेप्स ऐड करेगा. so escalator adds n by 2 steps, right? So in this case b runs 75 steps and the escalator adds n by 2 steps, which means that distance should also be equal to 75 plus n by 2. तो इन दोनों को अगर आप इक्वेट कर दोगे, 50 plus n equals 75 plus n by 2, तो आपका आएगा 25 equal to n by 2, n is equal to 50 आ जाएगा. देखो 50 plus 50 is 100, 75 plus 50 by 2 is 25, 100, right? And how many steps are there in the stationary escalator? Well, a 50 स्टेप चलता है और एस्केलेटर 50 स्टेप ऐड करता है, तो स्टेशनरी एस्केलेटर में 100 स्टेप्स होंगे, तभी हो रहा है. करेक्ट आंसर इज ऑप्शन बी, राइट? I hope you found this interesting. I hope that you learned something new in today's session. In order to keep learning, also come visit us on the Unacademy app. I take a lot of special classes over there along with other fellow educators. बहुत मजा आता है यार हम लोगों को वहाँ पे भी. So do join us there. All you need to do, एक तो सब्सक्राइब कर लो, फ्री रजिस्ट्रेशन करना है, ऐप पे जा करके इंस्टॉल कर लो, create an account and you can start learning from day one. But also keep in mind that in order to subscribe, you need to choose the course and press subscribe, and you'll be able to choose 2 plans, right, which I would recommend, the 1 year and the 24-month plan. Check out with any of these products and make sure that you use my referral code AV01. क्यों 10% डिस्काउंट मिलता है यार, और क्या, right? Do check out Unacademy app if you are even interested in any of these courses. Keep learning and do follow us on social media. YouTube channel है हमारा CAT4MBA. We also have a Telegram channel by the same name, so do follow us for updates on classes and various other notifications, right? Well, that's my time for today. Thank you. Join me again at 8 p.m. today. We're going to discuss logarithms today.